Today we are looking at cover crops and the effects on water quality. What we're going to look at today is an area where I've done some runoff studies looking at cover crops, no-till conventional farming, and then basically conventional tillage. Each one of these plots that you've seen today have been treated with a application of glyphosate at 1/4 to the acre and also atrazine. First round was at 2 pounds to the acre, the next round was at 1/2 pound per acre. But what we can look at today, which will be a good indicator of what we should expect, how long does it take for water to start running off of these fields? To get this system to work, we really have to put a lot of water on. And that is something I'm going to be working on in the future, to have a slower, more representative rainflow. We have about 4 inches an hour coming on each one of these plots. That is a lot, but what it does show us, at 4 inches an hour, we are seeing quite a bit of sediment coming out in the conventional. And even in those torrential downpours, we're not seeing that sediment come out with the cover crops. Now that's a huge benefit. So what happens on the field? Well, when we worked on the conventional tillage, the water started running off in about 9 minutes. And when we got into the cover crop, it was about 14 minutes. And then the no-till was about 12 minutes. But the bottom line is the water starts running off quicker on the conventional tillage. Due to the effects of cover crops and no-till, it allows absorption into the soil. With our conventional tillage, even though it's a fine soil, a fine-tilled soil, and it runs off quicker, what happens is that actually go into the soil. What we ran into is 5 minutes after runoff in the conventional tillage, it quit running off. That means all that water that was put in there is gone. It's either in the soil profile or gone. When we looked at no-till, it took about 23 minutes for it to run off completely. So that's holding that water in the profile and holding it on the field. And a very similar number came with the cover crops. I've done this study several times, and a lot of times I'll see that cover crop really hold it about 15–20% longer than no-till. I have 3 jars here that we've just ran tests with our irrigation system. And this first one is our cover crop. And our cover crop, you can see it is a little bit cloudy. What I want you to focus in on is a line down here. You'll see that there's really no line here, and that would be sediment in the system. So the cover crop, this cloudy material, is probably made up mostly of plant material that is coming off during the study. Our traditional no-till, which I don't want to knock that at all, but you can see there's material here. It's about the same color, and we've been doing no-till for quite a while. And in a second, you'll see how that's really helped us out. But does it help us out as much as cover crops? This sediment line here is mostly plant material. If I'd let these sit a little bit more and measure out the soils, I've done this a few times, and what you'll see is there is still soil loss with no-till, but far less than what you would see in conventional tillage. The conventional tillage, I don't know if you can see it, but there's mud down here at the bottom, and you still have that chocolate water looking. This is our problem. We're losing our soils, and these soils are moving sediment, they're moving nutrient, and also our pesticides into the waterways. And when we shake these things up, you can see that really gets dark. Inside of this has got the herbicides on it in the water, and also the sediments, nutrients as well as phosphorus and nitrogen. We shake up our no-till, conventional no-till, and it's a little darker. Not too bad. There, like I said, there was a little sediment on the bottom, but so it's really advanced us in our water quality component of agriculture. But if we shake up our cover crops, nothing changes. The soil pretty well stays on there. I'm not saying there's no erosion with cover crops, but it helps out quite a bit.